Aha! I got it. I finally figured it out. Does that happen to you? I mean, maybe you're playing Wordle and you're down to your sixth and final guess and you're still missing 3 letters. And then all of a sudden, you get it. Aha, you say. Right? What do you say? Say it with me. Aha, you say. And all of a sudden, those letters, they all turn green. Beautiful. Or, husbands, last month, when you were looking for that present for your wife, and you couldn't figure out what to buy, so you resorted to using the internet, and you looked at all of their suggestions, and you still weren't sure until finally, what'd you say? Aha! You found that perfect gift, and you customized it, and you put it in the shopping cart, and then you bought it. It's good. Last week when you were at that New Year's Eve party, and you're with some of your buddies, and you're trying to remember another acquaintance's name, this happens, doesn't it? And you knew what they looked like, and their name was on the tip of your tongue, but you couldn't come up with it. And so that frustrated you, but the next morning you're in the shower on New Year's Day, you're taking your shower, and then all of a sudden it came to you, and what do you say? Aha! It came to you, you got it. You figured it out. And maybe you don't use the word aha, maybe you say yes. Whatever it is, it's an epiphany. And today, we talk about an epiphany, a revelation, this appearance. But it's not an ordinary aha like we often have. No, this is the epiphany of Jesus. This is that sudden, surprising aha that changes completely everything. Everything is completely changed because of the epiphany, the aha of Jesus. You know, that word epiphany, it's one of those English loan words. We do this often in our language, where we take a word from another language and we make it ours. Kind of like this, like let's just say that today for lunch that you chowed on a bunch of pizza, an Italian word, and after you had too much pizza to eat, you laid down on the couch and you enjoyed a siesta, a Spanish word. Well, epiphany is a Greek word. And the irony about the word epiphany is that it doesn't appear in our text that we just heard from Matthew chapter 2. It does appear elsewhere in the New Testament and refers to this sudden, surprising aha, where Jesus is revealed. And it completely changes everything. The Magi, they had their aha. You probably know their story, at least some of it. You know, our Christmas nativity sets, we usually have 3 Magi. And that's because there are 3 gifts that were offered, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But we don't know for sure how many there were, and we don't really know their names. We think that the Magi were astrologers from Persia, hundreds of miles away from Jerusalem. And their aha began when they saw the spectacular star in the sky. They couldn't ignore it. It was different from all the other stars. And this star changed things for them. It changed their schedule. And so all of a sudden now, they bring together their camels and they fill their camels with all the supplies and they bring along their servants and they go on this big parade, this big march all the way to Jerusalem. They had their aha. Herod, King Herod, he had his aha. You might not know this, but Herod was the ruler over that region of Judea. Herod had been appointed by the Roman Senate to be he was called the King of the Jews. Herod was a very accomplished and ambitious ruler, but he was also a brutal tyrant. He was ruthless. King Herod was paranoid. Any threat to the throne, he eliminated. And so, Herod, he killed one of his wives. He banished or exiled another wife. He killed 3 of his sons. They were a threat to the throne. He killed his mother-in-law. He killed his brother-in-law. He killed his uncle, and he killed countless others. Any threat to his throne was eliminated. Maybe you've heard the saying that if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Well, the same could be said about Herod. If Herod ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So when the Magi, they come parading into Jerusalem with their camel caravan, they ask the question, where's the one who has been born King of the Jews? And what you see in Matthew chapter 2, verse 3 is that when Herod heard this, Herod was terrified, and all Jerusalem with him. You see, there was no room for two kings. Only one king can sit on the throne. And now all of Jerusalem is terrified because what is Herod going to do? So Herod hatches this plot, and he pulls the Magi aside secretly to find out where the child was, because he was going to get rid of that threat to his throne. Now, the temptation is to quickly and easily dismiss Herod because of his despicable behavior. This guy is some crazed maniac. But you have to admit this about Herod. Herod got it right. Herod got it right, that Jesus was a threat to his throne. And not only was Jesus a threat to Herod's throne, Jesus is a threat to my throne. See, the aha for us is that Jesus is a threat to your throne. Oh, that's right. No more of this cute, cooing, cuddly baby in the manger. No. Jesus is a threat. He's a threat to you. So you might not have a gilded throne like Herod. You might not wear a crown. You certainly don't like Herod, but you've got a throne because you want to be in charge. You want to live life your way, do life what you want to do with life. We all like to do that. And you have your New Year's resolutions, whether they're written or unwritten, and they're about us, our plans, how we want to look better, how we want to be successful, how we want to get that promotion and have more money, because you're in charge. Maybe you've realized that the reason we often have conflicts in relationships is that someone else wants to be on the throne in our lives. Someone else is usurping our authority. Your wife is not doing things the way that you think they ought to be done. And your children, their demands are interfering with how you want to spend your time. And your boss, starting tomorrow, he's kind of interfering and invading your space. And you are not getting your way because you want to be on the throne in your life. Oh, this aha. It's not like playing Wordle or buying your wife's Christmas present or remembering that name. Those ahas, oh, they're nice, they're pleasant, and they last for a moment or maybe even a season. But this aha about Jesus, it completely changes everything. And changes everything about you. See, Jesus comes. He doesn't come to be just a part of your picture. He doesn't come to just offer some sage advice that will make your life better and easier. Jesus doesn't come that you might achieve your goals. Jesus comes to rule, and that's a threat. To rule over you every day, in every moment, in every relationship, with every thought, word, and action. That Jesus is in charge, that Jesus is in control, and you aren't, and that Jesus is king. Now, did you notice this? In Matthew chapter 2, when the wise men come and they ask the question, where's the one who's to be born King of the Jews? Herod goes and tries to find out the answer, and he pulls together the religious leaders. And the religious leaders quote this passage from the Old Testament prophet Micah, Micah chapter 5. They say, "But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler." Hey, there's about rulers here. And now here's the key phrase. "Who will shepherd my people Israel." Aha. there is room for only one ruler on your throne. And it's not you. It's Jesus. And that's good news. Because what does he do as ruler? He's unlike Herod, and he's unlike me. He's a shepherd. He rules as a shepherd rules. He feeds, he directs, he seeks out the lost, he binds up the wounded, he heals the sick, he leads us through life's dark valleys, and he lays down his own life for the sheep. You know, maybe right now you're going through a challenging time, and what Christmas was is kind of like a 2-week recess from reality. And tomorrow starts reality once again. And maybe for you, the new year is not filled with all great joy and sparklers, but the new year is filled with you with apprehension and anxiety. What's going to happen? How is that going to turn out? How will that relationship go? And as you face that challenging time, remember who rules your life. You aren't in control, and that's good news. And Jesus is. And Jesus, as your shepherd, what he does is that he brings you the peace that the world cannot give. That he brings you peace even in the midst of that adversity. He brings you the acceptance that no one else offers you, because he accepts you completely all the time, not because of what you do, but because of what he does. He doesn't come to oppress you. He comes to serve you. He doesn't come to beat you down. He comes to lift you up. So you can't abdicate the throne. You can relinquish control. Aha. Jesus completely changes you. He changes how you see life. He changes how you do life. He makes your present secure. He makes your future certain. He provides eternity. He completely changes you. These magi, did you see what happened? It's really kind of ironic and kind of humorous. Here they've been following that star for hundreds of miles, and they get lost. They got lost. They ended up in Jerusalem, which is 5 miles down the road from Bethlehem, and they had to go to Jerusalem to get directions. But then when they go down to Bethlehem, Jesus is no longer in the manger. He's in a house. And then they see Mary and Jesus, and then all of a sudden, all their attention, it goes right to Jesus. And it says they fell down on their faces, and they worshiped him. They opened their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They brought only the best, for the one on the throne is worthy of the best. So what do you bring? You might not have the wealth, we probably don't, of the magi, where you can bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh, pretty expensive presents. But you have something better to give than what the magi gave. Bring yourself. When you think about what you do, bring yourself. Jesus has changed you completely so that you bring gifts just as well. But the gift that you bring is your complete self to him. How do you do that in your life? See, Jesus gives you everything that you need so that you will bring him everything that you are. And then bring your best. Bring your very best. When it comes to your relationship with God, it's not when you have enough time. It's not when it's convenient. It's not what you have left over. Bring your best. One of my favorite Christmas songs that you often hear on the radio is The Little Drummer Boy. Do you know the Little Drummer Boy? What happens? He's wondering, I don't have a gift, a present fit for the king. And so the little drummer boy, it says, I'll play my drum for him, Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum. I'll play my drum for him. And then he says, I'll play my best for him. Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum. Me and my drum. Bring yourself. Bring your best. Aha. There's even more in this great epiphany, this aha that suddenly and completely then changes everything. And that this sudden, surprising aha is for everyone. Everyone. Oh, it changed here. It changed the magi. It changes me and it changes you. But also is for everyone to be changed. See, I find it fascinating that the story about the magi is in Matthew's gospel. Matthew's gospel is written for Jewish Christians, and it's just packed full of Old Testament prophecies that the readers would immediately recognize. But it's in Matthew's gospel that the first people to see Jesus aren't the Jewish religious leaders, and the first people to see Jesus are not the Jewish pious people like Simeon and Anna that you hear about in the Gospel of Luke, but the first ones to see Jesus, King Jesus, are these magi, these astrologers, who are outsiders, who are foreigners, who are pagans. That Jesus is for everyone. Who is one person of that everyone that you know who does not have Jesus on their throne? What's that name of that person that you know who doesn't know King Jesus? Think about that name right now. Maybe you want to scribble it down. How is God going to use you to impact that person's life so that person comes to know Jesus and is completely changed? Now, a couple months ago, I had the honor of officiating at a funeral. The man's name was Walt. Some of you were there. Walt was a wonderful man. He was in his 80s. I'd known Walt for 20 years. And one day I went to visit Walt. Walt was having a tough time when I saw him. His breathing was hard. His health was deteriorating. And so we started talking. And Walt started talking about sports. We love talking about sports. We talked about soccer and other sports for a while. And then I said to Walt, because Walt knew he wasn't in good condition, I said, Walt, if you were to die today and you went to heaven and God asked you, why should I let you into my heaven? What would you say to God? And Walt thought about it for a moment. And then Walt started to talk to me about the impact he hoped he had made with his children and grandchildren. I mean, he's got a wonderful family. And we talked about that for a while, and it's really important that you make an impact upon people's lives. You know, God's placed you here to influence them. But I kind of steered it back to my question. I said, well, what would you say? And so we talked some more, and then finally I said, well, you know, Walt, I know you and you know me, and we both messed up. We have both done things that we should not have done, and we failed to do the things that we should have been doing. And Walt readily agreed with that about himself and readily agreed with that about me. And then I said to Walt, here's the challenge. We can't save ourselves. And that's why Jesus came into our world. And that Jesus took our place, and Jesus died for us on the cross. He forgives our sins. And Jesus rose from the dead so that we can have life with him now, and certainly life with him in heaven. And then Walt said to me, I've been wishy-washy about that for many years, but I've come to believe in Jesus. And then he looked over to his right side, and there was this Pieta. You know, Pieta is kind of one of those sculptures. Michelangelo made them famous, of where Mary is holding, cradling the crucified Jesus. And he looked over at a miniature Pieta that Walt had bought when he was in Rome several years ago. And he said, I can hardly imagine the sacrifice that Jesus made. But he didn't stop there. For me. The sudden, surprising aha that changes everything. Who's your Walt? Pastor Dave said to our leaders and to all of us that one of the things that we do around here is to serve and share the gospel. Who is God placing into your life that you are sharing the gospel with them? This is not for Pastor Dave to do or somebody else to do or only our leaders to do. This is for all of us. Because we have a shepherd. And we want people to experience that sudden, surprising aha that can change their lives for now and for eternity. Who's your Walt? You know, Walt is in the presence of Jesus in heaven. And we want other people to experience what we've experienced. Say it with me. Aha. Amen.